Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Vani. I'm not going to do a whole big introduction today. I actually hadn't planned on recording. However, I did find myself sitting here doing absolutely nothing except reading No Sleep. So I was like, why not turn on the camera? Hi Tibbs, my cat is here. He's right in front of my screen. Anyway, like I was saying, I'm not going to do a whole lot of introductions today. I'm kind of just scrolling No Sleep. Well, I'm kind of actually just scrolling my front page and I'm finding No Sleep stories. So I'm going to read those to you, kind of give my opinions on them, mostly just narrate them. This is a last minute video, so I'm not going to edit it too much. We're just rolling with the punches at this point. All right, this first story that I'm reading today, that I've already read half of actually. It's called My Wife is Convinced That I've Been Replaced. Please help me. I don't know what to do. So far it's pretty good. So I'm gonna recap it with you guys and then I'm gonna finish it with you guys. Let's dive in. Yes, it probably sounds insane. I should start with the backstory. Oh, actually I should start with who wrote it. So this is by Faith Killing on our No Sleep. My wife is convinced that I've been replaced. Please help me. I don't know what to do. Yes, it probably sounds insane. I should start with the backstory, but God, how hard it is to remember the simple, happy times before everything that happened. Cats everywhere. All right. I met my wife Catherine when she was 24 and I was 28. We lived in a small town in Kentucky. You'd have trouble finding it even with a map, and the population was tiny. Everyone knew each other. I'd worked as an electrician all my life. First at a factory, then I started my own small business. Repairs, wiring, private jobs. My love life had never really worked out until I met her. She worked as an elementary school teacher, smiled at every child, was kind and polite to everyone. My Catherine was the only ray of light in the darkness around me. I loved her for her simplicity. She could find joy in the most ordinary things. Morning coffee, the smell of wet grass, a cheap movie on the couch. We didn't have much money, but we had peace, a home, a dog, and a feeling that everything was right and everything would be fine. I spent evenings fixing things while she wrote lesson plans or knitted. Sometimes we'd sit in silence, listening to crickets, or stay up all night talking about everything and nothing, thinking about children and what we'd name them. Back then, it felt like life had finally found its meaning. The problems began maybe 2 months ago. At first, small things. She'd started having trouble sleeping, then began looking at me strangely, as if something in my face disturbed her. I asked if everything was okay, and she just laughed. Sorry, I'm just tired. The kids at school are driving me crazy. Gradually, though, I can't say exactly when it got worse. She slept less, not because she had insomnia, but because she was afraid to fall asleep. I asked her what was wrong, but she said she was fine. Still, when we laid together, she'd suddenly get up and go into another room, returning only at dawn. She started having nightmares, but she never told me what they were. One day, I lost my temper. You have to understand, I was just worried about my wife. From lack of sleep, she started to look worse. Dark circles under her eyes, red eyes, pale skin, she lost weight, and every time I tried to help, she pushed me away. So I sat her down across from me directly and asked her what she was dreaming about. I sat her down across from me and directly asked what she was dreaming about. Sorry, I said that part wrong. She was silent for a long time, trembling and glancing at me furtively, as if she was afraid. And then, when tears began to roll down her cheeks, she whispers, "There's a man in my dreams. God, I'm scared, Tom." I went to hug her, and when I reached for her, she flinched, as if I frightened her. After that, things seemed to get better. Or so I thought. How wrong I was. Honestly, a man not realizing things got worse. I'm kidding. She used to ask how my day went, but now she just stared out the window. With each passing day, she spoke to me less and less. Her words short and dry, and then she'd go to the bathroom or kitchen for some errands, closing the door behind her. And it wasn't just the silence. Her eyes had changed. But there wasn't a comma there, so that kind of messed me up. And it wasn't just the silence, her eyes had changed. So that messed me up. Before, they were green, emerald-like, full of life and love. Now, her gaze made my spine go cold. There wasn't anger or hatred. No, it was something closer to mistrust, wariness, as if she was seeing me for the first time. Over the next week, I began to feel anxious, a strange burning under my skin, as if something was wrong, but I couldn't tell where the crack was until I realized she was studying me. When I drank coffee, I could feel her eyes on me. I'd look up and she'd immediately turn away, pretending to slice fruit, but her fingers trembled and the knife froze halfway to the board. I'd step out for a smoke, and when I turned around, I'd see her peeking through the curtain, and then she'd instantly close it. When I showered, I'd catch her watching me, studying my body, then she'd run away. She started doing it even while I slept. She almost stopped talking to me, instead writing something in a notebook and hiding it as soon as I entered the room. Photos began to disappear from their frames. She'd talk on the phone with someone, but hang up the moment I came in. I made an appointment with a psychologist for us, but she refused and said she was afraid to be near me. It all happened so suddenly. It seemed that just yesterday we were stargazing in each other's arms, and now this. The strangeness grew every day. Sometimes she asked me to sleep on the couch. I agreed, hoping it would calm her, but it was useless. Her paranoia only worsened. It got to the point where when I tried to hug her, she screamed, "Don't come near me," and flinched as if I'd hit her. Ooh. I'm surprised he's holding out. After one of those nights, I decided I had to find out what was really going on, even if it meant taking her to a doctor afterward. I pretended to be asleep when she stood in the hallway. Then she slowly approached soft, careful steps. She stopped at the foot of the bed, and for several seconds there was a dead silence, broken only by her uneven breathing. I could feel her watching. Not just watching, comparing. That's when I became truly terrified. A cold dread twisting inside me as my wife became something I couldn't recognize. Then the bed shifted slightly and she sat down on the edge. The air grew heavy. I could feel her stare physically, like pressure on my skin. Then her cold fingers gently touched my wrist, held it for a few seconds, then quickly let go as if burned, and whispered, "Pulse faster than Tom's." How could she know that? How could she compare that? My heart clenched so hard I nearly twitched. She leaned closer. I could hear her breathing against my face, short, shaky. She smelled of lavender and something sour that made goosebumps crawl down my back. Her lips barely moved. I remember clearly. Tom had a small scar right here. She touched my cheek. "But you don't." I clenched my teeth to keep from gasping. Those few seconds of silence lasted an eternity. What scar? I never had a scar on my cheek. I'd know if I did. I wanted to sink into the ground and scream all at once, but I kept laying still until I heard a choked sob in her fading footsteps. The door slammed. I opened my eyes, my heart pounding furiously. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night, too afraid to close my eyes. In the morning, I went to work early, dreading the hours until my shift ended. That evening, over dinner, I said, "Kate, we need to talk. What's going on?" She gripped her fork so tightly her knuckles turned white, then looked me dead in the eye. "Tom, you've been acting strange." "What do you mean?" "I don't know. Sometimes you look different. Sometimes your voice sounds wrong. You even smell different." I didn't know what to say. My head was in chaos, and somehow I just laughed. "Kate, maybe you're just imagining things." "I don't know, Tom." My eyes fell on the knife rack. There was a clean strip of dust in where the largest knife should have been, the one we used for everything. Bread, meat, anything. I distinctly remembered it being there before that night. My heart slammed into my throat with primal panic. I looked at Kate and she was staring right at me. I wanted to speak, but I couldn't. It hit me that my wife might be planning to kill me. The next morning, she left for work, and I, like a caged animal, started searching the house. I hadn't slept in nearly 48 hours. I know I should have just left or taken her to a hospital, but she's my wife. I love her. She has to see that I am me. I tore through the apartment, frantic, desperate to find something, anything that would help me understand what was happening to her. And I did. After about an hour, in the back of the closet behind a pile of sweaters, I found her wooden box. Old, slightly cracked. The lid was ajar, and when I opened it, a thick notebook fell into my hands. It smelled of coffee and sweat. Oh, my cat just scared me. Her initials were on the cover, written in neat cursive. My heart froze when I realized it was the diary she'd been hiding from me. The paper bent under my fingers, her handwriting familiar, but this time jagged, shaky, the page stained with what looked like tears. "He's sleeping. I stand by the bed and watch. He looks like Tom, but he's not. Tom had a scar on his left hand from that accident by the river. This one's skin is smooth. He smiles, but the smile doesn't reach his eyes. Something replaced him. I keep counting days, marking steps. If the real Tom, my husband, is alive, where is he?" A wave of nausea rose in my throat. With each page, her handwriting grew more erratic. I tested his speech. He says "I love you" in the same tone, but without warmth, not like before. Tom smelled of vanilla, but this one smells of dust and cheap cologne. I couldn't believe what I was reading. My knees trembled, the air around me tightened like a noose. I flipped to the last page. I can't let this thing stay in our house. It wears his smile, his name. I tried talking to it, begging, but it just smiled and said all the right words. It didn't defend itself. Maybe because it isn't afraid? Its right hand twitches when it lies. I could have killed it today, but for some reason I couldn't. I know I have to, for Tom. I won't let some monster wear his skin. My hands were slick with sweat. My whole body was sweating. Even though the room was cold, I placed the diary on the bed and sat down, trying to process everything I just read. An accident. God, she was exaggerating. All that came out of it was concussion and some bruised ribs. I stayed in the hospital for about a week. Yeah, 7 days. Then my phone rang, making me jump. It was Sheriff Martin, a kind old man I'd known for years. Tom, is everything all right over there? Catherine called. She said someone's living in your house pretending to be her husband. I froze. What did you say? Says you're not you. I've known her for years. Always seems stable. Domestic quarrel, huh? No, just stress. She's tired. Everything came slowly. I sat on the couch, elbows on my knees, looking at an old photograph, the one that used to sit on our mantle before all this. Catherine and I by the lake, smiling, her arms around me. The sun so bright that day that we had to squint. I stared at us, the little details, her blonde hair catching in the light, her hand around mine, the green shimmer in our eyes. It felt like a lifetime ago. When the door creaked open, I nearly jumped. My wife's, if I can still call her that, steps were slow and tired, her bag thudding softly to the floor. She looked exhausted, her eyes red, her hair a mess. I stood, holding the diary. Kate, we need to talk. She looked at me warily, like a trapped animal sensing a snare. What's in your hand? Her voice was even, but something trembled in it. I found this. I need to understand what's happening, I said, showing her the diary. Catherine froze. For a moment, I thought she'd break down crying, but instead she slowly stepped closer, looking straight into my eyes, her cold breath, brushing against my skin. So what did you figure out, Tom? That I'm crazy? You think I've lost my mind, don't you? No. You wrote that I've been replaced, that I don't have a scar. She turned away, her lips pressed tight. Tom had one. We even joked it made him look tougher. Listen, sweetheart. I took a step closer, a strange knot tightening in my gut. I'm the same man. I remember everything. How we met, the candles at our wedding, how you laugh when you watch comedies, what you said about that stupid show when we finished it. I remember everything. Catherine, it's me. She stared at me, unblinking, her shoulders trembling as if she were freezing. I looked into her eyes, and there was something there, like pain and horror mixed together. As if I stood before her as someone both familiar and wrong. You say it like you've rehearsed it, she whispered. Because it's true. I stepped closer, my voice cracking into a shout. What do I have to do for you to believe me? What? Catherine said nothing, just breathed heavily, like she was fighting herself, staring into my eyes. Then she suddenly backed away, step by step toward her bag. I didn't realize what was happening at first. She bent down as if for a handkerchief, and then, oh my god, and in the next moment, I saw a glint of metal, a knife, the missing one. Kate, I breathed, disbelieving. Catherine, put it down. Stop pretending, you monster. I managed a half step toward her, raising her hand. Oh. I'm way too ahead of myself. I managed a half step toward her. She raised her hand. At first, I thought she was only threatening me. Panic tightened my fists. I wanted to yell, to grab her shoulders, to make her listen, but then a strike. Burning pain slashed through my chest. Everything went white. The last thing I saw was her face so familiar, twisted by terror and despair at once. She stood over me, her hand trembling, her lips whispering something like, Tom, where are you, my love? And then everything went dark. I woke up in a hospital. At first, nothing but fog, the smell of antiseptic, the faint beep of a monitor, unfamiliar voices. I tried to move my head, and pain shot through my body. The doctor explained I'd lost a lot of blood, but somehow survived. The knife missed my heart by an inch. Catherine had run away. I listened, not believing any of it was real. A couple of days later, Martin came by. I told him everything about the knife, the diary, her thinking I wasn't me. He listened, frowning, taking notes. When he finished and was about to leave, he turned back. Didn't expect this from Catherine. Don't worry, we'll find her. When you're discharged, come by my place. I got some Cuban cigars from a friend. We'll relax a bit. Without thinking, I said, I don't smoke. He frowned, about to say something, but then just nodded and left, closing the door behind him. For several minutes, I lay there, staring at the ceiling, trying to come to terms with everything that happened. Then I noticed a small mirror in the corner of the room. I caught my reflection and froze. My face was pale, my lips dry, but that wasn't what caught my attention. Interesting. Can eyes change color from green to blue? So I kind of caught on when he said, I don't smoke, and earlier in the story, he said he would step out for a smoke and she would peek through the curtains at him. Yeah, I think she was right. Unfortunately, sir, I believe that she was correct. I do think so. Sorry, man. That's just my opinion. You can, believe it or not. Totally up to you. But that's what I think. Alright, that was a really good one. I'm gonna keep scrolling down my front page here. Let's see if we can find another one. This is actually no, I mean, it's not a bad idea, but most of the ones that pop up here, they're new, so they haven't really been read yet. Don't have a lot of feedback. Could be a miss, but we're gonna give them a chance. We've got another one here. So this one is by accomplished_low 7889. I got a job as a security guard at a lab. The only rule is to let no one in or out. I feel like I've heard a title like this before, so let's hope it's not similar to that one. It's a series. This was posted 12 minutes ago, so I'm assuming this is the first part. All right. I was anxious about my first day on the job. I don't want to screw things up again like I did at the last one. Dr. Mary had hired me for a simple position with good pay. I'd be a night security guard for her private lab. It was located just outside of town, in an area full of abandoned buildings, the kind of place where you'd expect no one to ask questions. I figured she valued discretion. I arrived at 7 p.m. sharp, and she was expecting me in front of the door. The rules are simple, she said, her tone strict, and I suggest you write them down, because we've had issues with the previous guard. No one enters the lab unless I'm here, and no one leaves either. The last part caught my attention, but before I could ask why, she continued. I hired you because I know you'll do what's necessary to follow my instructions, right? There was something in her eyes that made me understand why I'd been given this chance. No one in their right mind hires an ex-convict as a guard unless the job requires special care. Understood, I said quickly. No one in or out without you here. Mary gave a faint, satisfied smile and went on to show me the rest of the facility. It reminded me of the infirmary back in prison. The lab had a main hall with 3 side doors besides the exit. One led to a small break room, another to the security office where I'd spend most of my shift, and the last, protected by a badge reader, opened to the experiment chamber where she and her two assistants went in and out during the day. Before leaving, she told me that the room was the most important one. That room was the most important one. I was not allowed inside, but I was to guard it at all costs. For the first few hours of my shift passed quietly. I watched the exterior cameras, checking the empty streets outside, trying to figure out why she was so strict, but there was nothing unusual. The neighborhood was practically dead, and the only vehicle I saw all night was a garbage truck. Once relaxed, I spent the rest of my shift playing some stupid phone game just like I used to do at my last job. It wasn't until around 4 in the morning that something strange happened. I left the security room to grab a snack from the break room, but as I crossed the main hall right in front of the experiment chamber door, I heard a sound. A low, wet grunt. It paused, then started again, slow and irregular. It went on for several minutes before fading away completely. Odd. Creepy. Prisoner. At 7 sharp, Dr. Mary's car pulled up. I grabbed my stuff and met her by the entrance. She asked if anything unusual happened. I told her no. Whatever sound came from that room wasn't my problem. As I got into my car to finally head home, another vehicle arrived. Not the assistants, but a large man came out of it. The clothes covered in dirt. Dr. Mary opened the door for him, and he went inside carrying several plastic bags. The next few days followed the same routine, except I started paying closer attention to the sounds coming from that room. There were maybe 2 or 3 voices, not talking exactly, more like moaning in pain. It got under my skin. I even started wondering what happened to the last guard. I found a small notebook under one of the monitors in the security room with his name on it. Adam. How was your night? Mary asked every morning, same cold tone. Nothing unusual, I'd reply, never mentioning the voices. Each morning ended the same way, me leaving, that dirt-covered man arriving, always with more black bags. I kept wondering what kind of research required deliveries like that. But 2 weeks later, something finally happened. That night, like always, I pressed my ear against the metal door, trying to make out the voices, but between the groans, I heard a full sentence for the first time, like a whisper from someone in agony. Kill me, it repeated again and again. I went home and I couldn't sleep. Something was very wrong inside that place, but I didn't know what. The name of the previous guard, Adam something, stuck in my mind, so I decided to look him up. It didn't take long before I found a Facebook profile that matched the same city, the same line of work, and private security. I clicked on his page to see more, but what caught my eye were the last few posts tagging him, all from a woman with his last name. Missing, father of 2, last seen heading towards the Walmart near the highway. If you have any information, please contact the number below. I leaned back from the screen, a chill running down my arms. Could his disappearance have anything to do with the lab? I spent the rest of the day digging through whatever I could find about both Adam and Dr. Mary. She had once been a tenured professor of medicine at an Ivy League university with dozens of publications in experimental medicine, but after a certain year, her name vanished from every record I could find. By the time I drove back to the lab that night, my mind was racing. I was still turning over those thoughts in my head when my phone started vibrating. Are you on your way? Dr. Mary's voice sounded strained. There's been an emergency. I'm 1 block away, I told her. Oh my God. When I pulled up to the lab, she was standing outside, furious, yelling at her 2 assistants. One of them ran, she said sharply as soon as she saw me. Who ran? One of the subjects, she snapped. Just go. Bring it back. She pointed toward the alley behind the lab, a narrow path that led to a stretch of abandoned lots. I followed that way, flashlight in hand, noticing a trail on the ground. Red, brown, yellow, streaks of something that looked halfway between blood and chemical residue. My steps quickened, though part of me wanted to turn back. Near the edge of the property, I saw the subject lying on the ground, trembling. When I got closer, my eyes struggled to make sense of it. It was shaped like a man, thick legs, narrow torso, and arms that didn't match in color or texture. The skin was a patchwork of tones. His head, pale and swollen, was attached to the neck with a mess of stitches and wire. One eye was milky white. The other turned towards me. I froze. The face, gray and slack, barely human. It was Adam's. For a few seconds, he just stared at me, his mouth twitching, trying to form words. And then they came. Kill me. Kill me. Yeah, so that's going to be a series. I'm not surprised that the one that got out was the security guard, but he was very fast. Reddit nosleep, it's very hard to keep people's attention, I can get. I don't dislike it, but I do feel like the security guard in a medical lab has definitely been done plenty of times. If there's something in the remainder of the series that makes it stand out, that's definitely like great, good, a wonderful thing for it. But I just think it's going to be very hard to stand out in a series of things that have been done plenty of times before, you know? It was also short. That only took me 8 minutes to read. Crazy. Okay, let's do one more here. All right, I've got my friend died in a horrible prank. I wish I never learned what went wrong by Let's Split Up. Let's split up. The worst deaths, in my opinion, are accidental. I read last week about a mother who rolled onto her newborn and suffocated it. Every year, toddlers die from being left in hot cars. And then you hear stories of kids playing games, like the boy who hid in an unplugged freezer and suffocated to death during hide and seek. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being the person responsible in any of these situations? To me, okay, hold on. An unplugged freezer. Did it just have like a push top? Like you just push the top. How did he die? Anyway, to me, this is so much more terrifying than the prospect of the paranormal. I'd much rather be haunted by a ghost than by guilt over unintentionally hurting someone. My husband, Wade, is the opposite. He's unbothered by accident, but petrified of horror movies about demons or vengeful ghosts. But as I told him, none of those things are real, so why be scared? He counters that accidents are without malice, therefore not as scary as murderous ghosts that might be real. I guess he has a point about the lack of malice, not about the ghosts that might be real. I know they're not, because if they were, my best friend would definitely be haunting me. I guess in some ways she is. Oh, so you're more scared of accidents than ghosts because an accident happened to you. You see, whenever I read about a prank going wrong, I stopped breathing for a minute. Whenever I read about a prank going wrong, I read that wrong. Anyway, I'm choked by guilt. After all these years, I still don't know if it was my fault. I was never charged by my friend. I was never charged, and my friend insists that I need to stop blaming myself. But how can I? How can I move on not knowing if it's because of me? Rosa got into the suitcase on her own. Lakeisha helped her. We were all drunk, giggling. She was supposed to surprise Bolin. She had a huge crush on him. Let me back up. Let me try to explain. We were at a party. Our friend group had been together for years, and we rented out this lodge. Me, my husband, and Wade, who back then was just my crush. Oh, my husband, Wade, who back then was just my crush. His buddies, Bolin and Tucker. Thing in my mouth. All right. His buddies, Bolin and Tucker and JB. And the girls who were my besties, Lakeisha and Rosa and Kay. I don't like the and, but that's fine. It's fine. Preferences. There were also some other friends who'd stopped by who we'd met earlier in the day while hiking. I can't remember their names anymore. What I do remember is that we had a lot to drink. And Rosa, she was in her flirty phase. Rosa was my best friend, but she wasn't perfect. She was like a butterfly who sips from every flower, a real heartbreaker, beautiful and passionate. I was a little bit jealous of the attention she had and also kind of in awe of her. Whoever she was with fell hard. Like she was the love of their life, but she never committed. She'd been on again, off again with JB, then seduced Wade, which was kind of bitchy because she knew I had a crush on him. She'd even flirted with bisexuality with Kay. Now her eyes were on Bolin. I forget whose idea it was for her to hide in the suitcase, mine or hers. All the luggage was in the basement because that's where the boys had put it when we'd arrived at the lodge. Lakeisha said something like, Bolin's suitcase is big enough to hide a body, and that's when Rosa, or me, had the idea she'd hide in it. And Rosa decided to spice up the prank by wearing lingerie. Oh no. When Bolin took the suitcase up to his room and opened it, he'd find a sexy surprise. We were stupid. None of us had good judgment, especially since we were tipsy. Once Rosa squeezed inside, whining about her hair getting caught in the zipper, Lakeisha and I went to go badger the boys to bring everyone's bags to their room. I remember Bolin delivered mine. I was staying outside in a tent with Kay. The lodge didn't have enough bedrooms for everybody, and we wanted to sleep under the stars. Kay had no idea about the prank and was confused when I kept urging Bolin to go inside and check his bag. After he left, I told her about Rosa, and because Kay was actually sober, she told me to go make sure Rosa wasn't stuck in there. So I checked to make sure the suitcase wasn't still at the bottom of the stairs. At least, I think I did, but I was drunk. While all of us were sitting outside watching fireworks later, I noticed Bolin was missing and asked Wade where he went. Bolin had gone up to his room early. Since he hadn't come back, Lakeisha and I assumed Rosa was in there with him, and that her lingerie stunt had worked. In fact, Lakeisha and I were whispering about it all evening, quietly, so as to not make any of the boys jealous. In the morning, when Bolin came down, Lakeisha and I asked him about last night, all smirks. He looked clueless. Then Lakeisha asked where Rosa was, and he was still clueless. But what about his suitcase? Hadn't he opened it? He said someone had shoved all his clothes into the closet in a pile. He wasn't sure why. He assumed he was being pranked or something, and hadn't seen his suitcase. So you never opened it? Asked Lakeisha. Dread bloomed in my belly. Oh God, I thought. Oh God, oh God. Lakeisha was telling him how we'd taken his clothes out and Rosa had hidden inside, hoping to surprise him in her lingerie, and Bolin blushed and said he was gay. Oh no, gay. But his coming out to us hardly even registered because where was Rosa? None of us knew. We quickly went to wake everyone else up, hoping someone had seen her last night. Oh God, I checked. Didn't I check? I swear I checked. Prayers ran through my head, but I was drunk. I wasn't sure if I really had. I went downstairs to the basement. There was a suitcase, still tucked away at the bottom of the stairs. It was exactly where we'd left it when we zipped Rosa inside the night before. Oh no. Nobody wanted to open the suitcase. The boys argued about who had left it there. JB said he lifted it but noticed how heavy it was and asked someone else to take it. Each of them thought that another one of the guys was going to grab it. Bolin didn't think to check because he'd found his clothes piled in the closet. I'm ashamed to say I went outside when Lakeisha reached for the zipper. Wade came out and joined me. He told me dead bodies, gore, things like that scared him. While the others checked the contents of the suitcase, Wade and I sat outside. As we heard the gas and whispers of, "Oh God," his fingers gripped mine tightly. I put my head in my hands and sobbed. She'd suffocated, of course, but it had taken a long time. The police wondered why none of us had heard her gasping for help, but Kay sheepishly told them about the fireworks. A prank gone wrong, authorities ruled. My friends said then, and still say now, that ultimately Rosa was the one most responsible for her own misfortune, that she'd made her own decisions, that all of us were a little guilty, but none of us wholly responsible for a tragic accident. But it was my hand that closed the zipper. I've lain in bed thinking about her gasping for air. Why didn't she scream? Why didn't we hear the muffled shouts? I imagine her squeezed into the darkness while her pleas for help go unanswered, and I can't breathe. Are you hungry, kitty cat? Your food just came. His eye is twitching. Go back to sleep, baby. You're tired. Oh yeah, you roll back over. Alright. Okay. Oh no. Okay. But the real reason I'm writing, but the real reason I'm writing this is because this morning I saw a story in the news about a woman in her underwear found strangled on the beach. My husband switched away from the reporting, and when I asked why, he looked surprised and said he thought it might trigger me. Why? I asked. It wasn't a prank. I thought it might remind you of Rosa, you know, the lingerie. I suppose that aspect was similar. To be honest, the part of the tragedy that had never... To be honest, that part of the tragedy had never really stuck out to me as much. But now I think about how we all stopped talking about her afterward. How her death was only a blip in the news, no details released. In our friend group, Rosa's death became a taboo subject, almost like she'd never been with us at all. We all silently agreed to forget her. But the more I think of that report on the news, the more I'm getting the feeling from that day. The top of the stairs feeling, like I'm looking down, seeing something I don't want to see. That oh God, oh God, oh God sense of impending dread. And I'm about to be sick. Because Wade dated her too, and loved her. And I'm more and more certain I looked down the stairs before the fireworks and there was no suitcase there. And now I'm wondering, if Wade never saw what was in the suitcase, never picked it up or opened it or moved it, how did he know she was in her lingerie when she died? Ooh, I don't know. I don't know if I would marry the man that I was with when my best friend died. I don't think I would do that. Especially if he had dated her previously. I'm also not sure. Would you suffocate in a suitcase? The zipper, my AI won't tell me, or the AI overview won't tell me. The zippers don't necessarily close all the way to where I feel like it would trap all of the air out of it. And honestly, they could have left the zipper open a little bit and she would have been fine. I feel like before they even left her in the suitcase, she would have been like, hey, leave the zipper open a little bit, you know? Why would you do that? I don't know. She's implying that it was her husband who killed her. But at the same time, I feel like they might have mentioned the lingerie thing previously and she just doesn't remember it because traumatic event, yada yada, you know? But I don't know. I feel like she's just having a lot of trauma over it and bringing up things that don't need to be brought up, right? Surely. Alright, thank you guys for watching. I know this is going to be a shorter video. All three of those stories were pretty short, actually. I'll probably look for some longer ones next time. You can hear my cat's bell jingling. Jingle, jingle. Gimme! Hi! But yeah, I'll look for longer ones next time. I just wanted to get a video up. It is spooky season. If you guys don't know, I do stream on Twitch. Currently, we're hosting a donathon for my first ever custom 2D model. This one I'm using right now. Love it. It's perfect. It is a customizable model by Suica. And we are just doing that donathon to raise funds for my first personalized custom model, not customizable model, but custom model made by an artist, rigged by an artist, for me and only me. If you guys want to check that out, I do stream on twitch.tv/vanillylily, and that is running for all of the month of November. I have scare alerts, I'm playing scary games, I am going to read some scary stories soon once I finish Outlast. Most likely tonight at the time of recording. I don't know if tonight at the time of posting, if I will get this up tonight. I'm not sure. I might try. I'm really in the mood. But thank you everyone for watching. If you want to come check me out on Twitch, it will be linked down below. Again, I appreciate your presence. I hope you enjoyed my narration, and let me know what you think of these stories, and let me know if there's any stories you want to hear me read. If it's a no sleep, if it's a creepypasta, I've probably read it. I could probably read it here. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful night or day. I hope it's day. I hope it's bright and shiny outside where you are, so that you didn't just watch this at night and now you're kind of creeped out. The last story actually wasn't too creepy, so I don't think that it'll be too bad to sleep. Anyway, have a wonderful day. I will see you next time.